The snow fell in soft, relentless waves outside my Burlington, Vermont, home that December. Each flake, a whisper of the white Christmas my Bill would have loved. At 67, I'd learned to notice the things that tethered me to him. 5 years after his heart attack stole him away. But that day, as I watched the snow dance, a different kind of chill settled in my bones. Not from the cold, but from the sting of being erased by the people I loved most. Welcome to my story. Friends, where the deepest cuts come from family, and the fight for a seat at the table is anything but polite. Settle in, maybe grab a cozy blanket, because this one's going to hit hard. I'm Margaret Bennett, though everyone calls me Maggie. I've lived long enough to know betrayal doesn't always announce itself with a bang. Sometimes it's quiet, like the absence of a place setting at a Christmas dinner you were invited to. That's where it started. In my son Thomas's colonial-style house in South Burlington, I'd arrived at 3:0 p.m. sharp, as requested. My mother's cranberry sauce laced with orange zest and a hint of cinnamon nestled in the crystal dish Bill gave me for our 30th anniversary. I wore my best burgundy cashmere sweater, the one Bill said warmed my eyes, my silver hair freshly styled, nails manicured for the occasion. I was ready to be part of the family glow, to see my grandchildren, Ethan and Lily, light up the room. Grandma Maggie, Ethan squealed, all of 5 years old, detaching from his father's leg to wrap his arms around my waist. I balanced the dish, kissing his head, my heart swelling. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. Thomas, 42, took the dish with a quick peck on my cheek. Mom, you're here. Great. Everyone's in the dining room. His tone was clipped, the kind you use when you're ticking off a checklist. I followed him through the foyer, past the Christmas tree adorned with ornaments I'd passed down, the laughter from the dining room pulling me forward like a promise. Then I saw it. Or rather, I didn't. The long dining table gleamed with Rachel's grandmother's china, crystal glasses catching the light, name cards perched on folded napkins, 9 places, all marked, all occupied. None for me. I stood in the doorway, coat still on. As the room hushed, Rachel, my daughter-in-law, looked up from arranging a pine and holly centerpiece, her honey blonde hair perfect as always. Oh, Maggie. You're here, she said, her voice carrying a surprise that didn't match her 3:0 p.m. invitation. Mom brought the cranberry sauce, Thomas said, setting my dish on a sideboard already crowded with 3 others, one unmistakably the canned stuff Rachel's mother swore by. I scanned the table again, hoping I'd missed my name. Where should I sit? I asked, keeping my voice light, though my chest tightened. Rachel and Thomas exchanged a glance, quick but loaded. Oh, I thought Rachel started. We didn't, Thomas said at the same time. Lily, my 10-year-old granddaughter, looked up from her phone. Daddy, where's Grandma gonna sit? The silence was thick, suffocating. Rachel's mother, who I'd met maybe 4 times in 12 years, cleared her throat. Margaret, we thought you weren't coming until dessert. My heart thudded. I'd never said that. Mom, there's been a misunderstanding, Thomas added, running a hand through his hair, a gesture so like Bill's it hurt. You mentioned last week you don't eat big meals anymore. I hadn't, not once. I can squeeze in at the kids' end. I offered, though the table was clearly full. We could set up the card table in the living room, Rachel suggested, not meeting my eyes. Thomas, could you grab it from the basement? No, I said, the word sharp, surprising even me. Don't trouble yourself. I'm suddenly not feeling well. Ethan's face crumpled. Grandma, don't go. He clung to me again, and Lily stood, defiant. I'll eat with Grandma in the living room. Rachel's voice snapped. Sit down. Lily, Grandma's not feeling well. She wants to go home, Lily muttered. That's not what she said, but sat, her eyes downcast. I gently pried Ethan off, my hands trembling. I'll leave the cranberry sauce, I said, steadier than I felt. Merry Christmas. Everyone. Rachel's father raised his wine glass, chuckling. Well, more room for the rest of us. The joke landed like a slap. Thomas followed me to the door. Mom, wait. Don't leave like this. I turned to him in the foyer. My son, the boy I'd raised alone after Bill's death, whose college I'd funded with overtime at the bank, whose house down payment came from my retirement savings. Tommy, I said quietly, there wasn't a place for me at the table. He flushed. It was a miscommunication. I shook my head. I know exactly what it was. I left, the sound of laughter resuming before the door clicked shut. The drive home blurred through tears. Not since Bill's funeral had I felt so alone. My cranberry sauce, my tradition, was likely pushed aside for the canned kind. At home, I sank into Bill's recliner, still in my coat. The Christmas tree's lights casting shadows. My phone dinged. Thomas. Sorry about the mix-up. We'll bring the kids tomorrow with your presents. Mix-up. As if forgetting your mother at Christmas was like grabbing skim milk instead of whole. I stared at the mantel, at photos of a life well lived. Bill and me on our wedding day. Thomas graduating. Me holding newborn Lily. Family. The word tasted bitter now, but something stirred. A flicker of the old Maggie. The one who'd climbed from teller to senior account manager at First National Bank of Vermont. Bill's voice echoed, Maggie, people only treat you the way you allow them to. For 5 years, I'd let myself be sidelined. Canceled plans, forgotten birthdays, dismissive tones. No more. I walked to my desk, opened my laptop, and logged into the banking portal. 40 years at the bank had left me with a little-known advantage, administrative access, never revoked due to a system glitch. My finger hovered over the keyboard, the screen glowing in the dark. Merry Christmas to me, I whispered, and began to type. So, before you get too cozy, take a sec to like this video and subscribe, but only if you're feeling the vibe. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? Drop a comment with where you're watching from. Let's see how many of us are out here, fighting to be seen. The snow kept falling outside my Burlington home, blanketing the world in a hush that felt like it was trying to smother my thoughts. I sat in Bill's recliner, the laptop's glow still burning my eyes from last night's discovery, my coffee gone cold on the side table. Welcome back, friends, to this quiet little corner of betrayal, where family ties unravel like a cheap sweater. Let's dive into the past, shall we? Grab your tea, settle in, because this is where I start piecing together how my son Thomas went from my heart to my heartbreak. I didn't sleep after leaving Thomas's house on Christmas Day. The sting of that empty table lingered, sharp as a paper cut. But it was more than just a forgotten seat. It was the culmination of years of distance, of feeling like an afterthought in my own family. I raised Thomas alone after Bill's heart attack when he was just 17. Back then, he'd cling to me at night, scared we'd lose everything. I worked double shifts at First National Bank of Vermont, climbing from teller to senior account manager to keep a roof over our heads. I paid for his college, his first car, even the down payment on that colonial-style house where I was snubbed. All those sacrifices. And now, a text calling it a mix-up. I closed my eyes, letting memories flood in. Thomas at 10, helping me bake gingerbread cookies for Christmas, his small hands sticky with molasses. Mom, you're the best, he'd say, grinning through a flour-dusted face. At 20, he'd call from college, voice bright, thanking me for the care packages. But somewhere along the line, after he married Rachel, the calls grew shorter, the visits rarer. Rachel, with her perfect updo and sharper ambition, always seemed to keep me at arm's length. Oh, Maggie, we're just so busy, she'd say, her smile tight. When I offered to babysit Lily and Ethan, I told myself it was normal adult kids have their own lives. But normal doesn't leave you standing in a doorway, coat on, with no place to sit. I opened my laptop again, the banking portal still logged in from last night. I hadn't done anything drastic yet, just poked around. But the sight of my account balance lower than it should have been gnawed at me. I scrolled through transactions, my old banker's instincts kicking in. A transfer here, a withdrawal there. Nothing huge, but they didn't add up. My fingers trembled as I dug deeper, cross-referencing dates. Over the past 3 years, small sums had trickled out, always just under the threshold that would trigger an alert. Someone was careful, someone who knew how banks worked. Thomas, I whispered, my voice cracking in the empty room. He didn't work in finance. Marketing was his game. But Rachel had been an administrative assistant at First National for a year before switching to real estate. She'd have learned the systems, the loopholes. The thought made my stomach lurch. Had they been playing me all along? Smiling at Sunday dinners while siphoning my savings, I stood, pacing the living room, my bare feet cold on the hardwood. The Christmas tree lights flickered, mocking the warmth I'd expected this season to hold. I stopped at the mantel, picking up a framed photo of Thomas and me at his college graduation. His arm was around me, his smile wide. I owe it all to you, Mom, he'd said that day. Now, those words felt like a lie. I set the photo face down, unable to look at it. Bill, what would you do? I asked the empty air. My husband's voice came back, steady as ever. Maggie, don't let anyone walk over you, not even family. He'd always been my anchor, the one who saw through excuses. When Thomas started pulling away after marrying Rachel, Bill had noticed. He's changing. Mags, he'd said one night, his brow furrowed. Keep an eye on him. I'd brushed it off. not wanting to believe my boy could drift so far. Now, I wished I'd listened. I returned to the laptop, pulling up Thomas and Rachel's joint account. Yes, my old admin access still worked, a glitch the bank never fixed. Their checking account held barely $1, $500, typical for the holidays. But their savings, over 15 days, with regular deposits from an account number I recognized. Mine. My heart pounded as I traced the transfers. $3 in last month. $5 6 months ago. More stretching back years. Nearly $50,000 in total. And that was just the start. The paper statements I'd received every month showed none of this. Someone had tampered with them. You've got to be kidding me, I muttered, my voice sharp in the silence. I leaned back, the recliner creaking, and rubbed my temples. The betrayal wasn't just the dinner. It was calculated, deliberate, a slow bleed of my life's work. I thought of Rachel's canned cranberry sauce, her mother's smug smile, Thomas's rushed tone on the phone. Try to be on time. Mom, he'd said, like I was the one who needed reminding. The audacity of it all lit a spark in me, one I hadn't felt since my banking days. I grabbed my phone, scrolling through texts. Thomas's mix-up message stared back, followed by another from this morning. Kids are excited to see you today. Noon work. Noon, as if showing up with presents would erase yesterday. I didn't reply, my thumb hovering over the screen. Instead, I dialed Susan Miller, my best friend since our University of Vermont days. Her voice was groggy when she answered. Maggie, it's barely 8. Everything okay? Sue, I need you, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. Can I come over? She didn't hesitate. Of course. I'll make coffee. I hung up, my mind racing. I wasn't ready to confront Thomas yet. Not without proof, not without a plan. But the Maggie who'd let herself be sidelined was gone. I slipped on my coat, grabbed my laptop, and glanced at the Christmas tree one last time. This isn't over, I told it, as if it could carry the message to Bill. Outside, the snow crunched under my boots, the cold biting my cheeks. As I drove to Sue's, I passed Thomas's Range Rover pulling into my street, an hour early. Thomas was at the wheel, Rachel beside him, their faces unreadable. I lifted a hand in a half wave, not slowing down. In the rear view, I saw Thomas step out, calling after me, but I kept going. Let them wait, let them wonder. For once, I was the one setting the terms. So, here we are, friends, peeling back the layers of a family gone cold. Ever had someone you love make you feel like a stranger? Hit that like button if you're with me. And subscribe to keep up with this fight. Drop a comment, where are you watching from? Let's build this little community of truth tellers. The snow hadn't let up, cloaking Burlington in a silence that felt heavier than it should. I sat at Susan's kitchen table, her strong coffee warming my hands. But my mind was elsewhere, tangled in the web of numbers I'd seen on my laptop. Welcome back, friends, to this quiet unraveling of trust, where the past bites harder than the Vermont winter. Let's dig into the moment I stopped being just a grieving mom and started fighting back. Pull up a chair, maybe dim the lights, because this is where the spark of defiance catches fire. Sue's bungalow smelled of cinnamon and comfort, but her sharp eyes missed nothing. Maggie, you look like you've seen a ghost, she said, sliding a plate of warm scones toward me. I managed a weak smile. Not a ghost, Sue, a thief. I opened my laptop, showing her the banking portal, the transfers from my account to Thomas and Rachel's $50,000 over 3 years. Maybe more. Her jaw tightened as I explained the falsified statements. The dinner snub. The way my own son had let me walk out of his house without a fight. Maggie, this isn't a mix-up, Sue said, her voice low. This is theft. Deliberate. I nodded, the words settling like a stone in my chest. I know, but I need proof before I do anything. She leaned forward, her college days fire still burning. You're Margaret Bennett. You ran half the bank's fraud team. You've got this? She was right. 40 years at First National had honed my instincts. I wasn't just Grandma Maggie, knitting scarves and baking cookies. I was the woman who'd caught embezzlers, traced laundered funds, trained accountants still working in Burlington, that Maggie had been dormant, lulled by grief and family loyalty, but she was waking up. I'm not letting them take everything, I said, my voice steady for the first time in days. Not my money, not my dignity. I dove back into the portal, using my old admin credentials still active. Thank you. Banking oversight. The transfers were slick, just under $5,000 each, spaced out to avoid alerts. But the pattern was clear. and the destination was Thomas and Rachel's savings account. I cross-checked my paper statements, pristine in their accordion folder. Not a single transfer appeared. Someone had intercepted the real ones, replacing them with fakes. Rachel's brief stint at the bank flashed in my mind, her access to systems, her knack for details. "Got you," I whispered, my pulse quickening. Sue watched, her coffee untouched. "What's next?" "Maggie, you can't just sit on this." I leaned back, the chair creaking under me. "I need to know how deep this goes, and I need to protect what's left." I logged into Thomas and Rachel's accounts again, my fingers flying. Their savings had grown fat on my money, but their checking was nearly dry holiday spending. Maybe, or something else. I hesitated, then placed a temporary freeze on both accounts, a 72-hour hold standard for suspected fraud. The system accepted my command without a hitch. "That'll get their attention," I said, a grim satisfaction curling in my gut. My phone buzzed, Thomas, right on cue. "Mom, what's going on?" "The bank says our accounts are frozen. Call me?" I ignored it, my heart pounding. Another text followed. "This is serious. We can't pay bills. Kids are asking for you." The mention of Ethan and Lily twisted the knife, but I couldn't soften. Not yet. I turned to Sue. "They're already scrambling." "Good." She raised an eyebrow. "You're playing hardball." "I like it. But what's the end game?" I stared at the laptop, the numbers glaring back. Answers. And justice. They don't get to erase me. I pulled up my own account, transferring the remaining balance to a new one, locked tight with fresh security protocols. Every click felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. The doorbell rang, startling us. Sue peeked through the curtain. "It's Thomas, alone." My stomach lurched. "Let him in," I said, closing the laptop. "But stay close." She nodded, opening the door. Thomas stepped inside, snow dusting his coat, his face a mix of worry and frustration. "Mom, why aren't you answering? What's with the bank?" I stood, arms crossed, my burgundy sweater suddenly feeling like armor. "Sit down." "Tommy." He flinched at the childhood nickname, but sat. "What's going on?" He pressed, his voice tight. "The bank saying fraud. Our mortgage payment's due tomorrow." I studied him, searching for the boy who'd once cried over a lost soccer game. "Maybe you should tell me what's going on," I said, my tone icy. "Like why my savings have been bleeding into your account for years." His eyes widened, just a flicker, but it was enough. "Mom, I don't know what you're talking about. You're upset about Christmas. I get it. But don't." I cut him off, my voice sharp. "Don't gaslight me. Thomas, I've seen the transfers. 50,000 at least. And the statements I got, fakes." He ran a hand through his hair. Bill's gesture. But it didn't soften me. "You're confused." "Mom, you've been stressed since Dad died. Maybe you made some mistakes." Sue snorted from the doorway. "She's sharper than you." "Kid." I held up a hand, keeping my eyes on Thomas. "I'm not confused. I'm a banker. Remember, I train people to catch this kind of thing. And I'm catching you." He stood, pacing. "This is crazy. Rachel and I would never look. Let's talk this out. For the kids' sake." "The kids." My resolve wavered, picturing Ethan's hug, Lily's quiet defiance. "The kids are why I'm doing this," I said softly. "They deserve better than parents who steal from their grandmother." His face flushed. "That's not fair. You're blowing this out of proportion." I stepped closer, my voice low. "Then explain the money." "Tommy, explain the statements. Or get out." He stared at me, then grabbed his coat. "We'll fix this." "Mom, but you're making a mistake." He left, the door slamming behind him. Sue locked it, turning to me. "You okay?" I sank into the chair, my hands trembling. "No, but I'm not stopping." Alone again, I opened the laptop, digging deeper. A new transaction caught my eye. A $10,000 transfer from my account, dated just before Bill's death. My breath caught. Had this started even then? The thought was too dark, too heavy, but it fueled me. I wasn't just fighting for my money. I was fighting for the truth. So, friends, here's where the gloves come off. Ever had to confront someone you love? Hit that like button if you're rooting for me, and subscribe to see this through. Tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Let's keep this fire burning. The Burlington dawn broke sharp and cold, the snow outside Susan's bungalow glowing faintly pink. I hadn't slept, my mind churning through numbers, dates, and the look on Thomas's face when I called him out. Welcome back, friends, to the slow-burning fight for what's mine. where the quiet of a Vermont morning hides a storm. Let's step into the moment I took control, turning from betrayed mother to a woman who'd make her family regret underestimating her. Grab your coffee, dim the lights, and let's unravel this mess together. Susan was still asleep when I opened my laptop at her kitchen table. The banking portal's glow, my only company. Thomas's denial yesterday, you're confused. Mom had lit a fuse in me. Confused. I'd spent 40 years at First National Bank of Vermont, spotting fraud before most accountants knew where to look. I wasn't the one who'd made a mistake. I dove deeper into the transaction history, my old instincts razor sharp. The $50,000 I'd found was just the tip. Cross-referencing my account with Thomas and Rachel's, I uncovered more transfers, $5,000 here, $7,000 there, stretching back 5 years. The total, nearly $200,000. My life savings, Bill's insurance, my retirement dreams siphoned away while I trusted the paper statements arriving each month. Unbelievable, I muttered, my breath catching. The statements were key. I pulled out my accordion folder, flipping through crisp pages. Every transfer was absent. The balances inflated to match what I'd expected. Someone had created fakes, intercepting the real ones. Rachel's time at the bank flashed again. She'd handled statement processing, knew the software inside out. My hands shook as I logged into the bank's admin system. My unrevoked credentials, a silent ally. A quick search confirmed it. My real statements had been rerouted to a P.O. box in Essex Junction, 10 minutes from Thomas's house. The fakes, generated externally, mailed to me like clockwork. I leaned back, the chair creaking, my coffee untouched. This wasn't a spur-of-the-moment grab. This was a scheme, meticulous and cruel. I pictured Rachel's perfect smile at family dinners. Thomas's rushed, "We're fine." Mom when I asked about their finances, all while they bled me dry. The Christmas dinner snub suddenly made sense. They weren't just forgetting me. They were pushing me out, betting I'd stay quiet. The doting grandma who'd never suspect. "Not today," I whispered, my voice steady. I navigated to Thomas and Rachel's accounts, the temporary freeze I'd placed yesterday still holding. Their checking was down to $1.200. Their savings bloated with my money. I extended the freeze another 72 hours, enough to force their hand. Then I moved to my own account, transferring the remaining $80 to a new one, secured with two-factor authentication and alerts for any transaction over $50. Every click felt like locking a door they'd never open again. My phone buzzed Thomas. Again. "Mom, this is insane. We can't buy groceries. Talk to me." I ignored it. But the next text hit harder. "Ethan's crying for you. Please." My heart twisted, picturing his small face. But I couldn't waver. I dialed Susan's lawyer friend, Howard Davis, who'd specialized in elder issues before retiring. He answered on the second ring, his voice calm but firm. "Margaret, Susan said you might call. What's happening?" "Howard, my son and his wife have stolen $200,000 from me," I said, my tone clipped. "I've frozen their accounts, but I need help. They're covering their tracks." He didn't hesitate. "Meet me at my office in an hour. Bring everything you've got." I hung up, gathering my printouts, screenshots, transaction logs, the fake statements. As I packed, Susan shuffled in, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "You're up early. Any more bombshells?" "Try $200,000 worth," I said, zipping my bag. She whistled. "Maggie, you're a force. What's the plan?" I met her gaze. My jaw set. "I'm taking back what's mine. Starting now," she grinned. "Fierce. That's my girl." Howard's office was a cozy clutter of law books and family photos, a stark contrast to the sterile bank conference rooms I knew. He was tall, silver-haired, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Margaret, let's see what we're dealing with," he said, spreading my documents across his desk. I walked him through the transfers, the P.O. box, Rachel's bank history. His brow furrowed as he read. "This is textbook financial abuse. Margaret, sophisticated. 2. We need to report it to the bank's fraud department and adult protective services." I bristled. "I don't need protection. Howard, I need justice." He smiled gently. "The report's about legal leverage, not your capability. You're sharper than most lawyers I know." His confidence steadied me. We drafted a fraud complaint, detailing the $200,000 and the falsified statements. He also suggested a temporary restraining order against Thomas and Rachel, citing their potential to intimidate. They'll use the kids to guilt you, he warned. I nodded, Ethan's face flashing in my mind, but I couldn't let that stop me. As we finished, my phone rang Rachel this time. I put it on speaker. Howard's pen poised. Maggie, what's going on? Her voice was syrupy, laced with panic. The bank's frozen everything. We can't even buy gas. The kids are scared. I kept my tone even. Maybe you should have thought of that before taking $200,000 from my account. Rachel, silence. Then a sharp intake of breath. That's ridiculous. You're misunderstanding. No, I cut in, my voice like steel. I've got proof. Statements. Transfers. Your P.O. box. Want to explain that? She stammered. Maggie, we were helping you manage after Bill. You were so lost. Howard shook his head, mouthing, don't engage. I took a breath. All communication goes through my lawyer now, Howard Davis. I gave his number and hung up, my hands trembling but my resolve ironclad. Howard nodded. Well done. They're rattled. He filed the fraud report online, scheduling a bank meeting for tomorrow. The restraining order would be filed when courts reopened. Go rest. Margaret, he said, this is just the start. I left his office, the winter air biting my cheeks. My phone buzzed again. Thomas. Mom, why are you doing this? We're family. Family. The word tasted like ash. I drove to Sue's, the weight of my actions settling in. I'd drawn a line, and there was no going back. But as I parked, a new email pinged from an unknown address. I know what Thomas and Rachel are doing. Meet me at Lakeside Coffee tomorrow. 2 p. A friend. My pulse spiked. An ally or a trap. Either way, I was ready to find out. So, friends, the battle's heating up. Ever taken a stand that scared you? Hit that like button if you're with me. And subscribe to see what's next. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Let's keep this fight alive. The Burlington air was sharp, the kind of cold that sneaks into your bones and stays there. I sat in Sue's living room, the glow of her Christmas tree mocking the chaos in my head. Welcome back, friends, to this messy corner of family betrayal, where the lines are drawn and the gloves are off. Let's wait into the moment my son and daughter-in-law tried to push back, thinking they could guilt me into backing down. Grab a warm drink, settle in, because this is where I hold my ground. And it's not pretty. After yesterday's confrontation with Rachel over the phone, I'd barely slept. The $200 theft, the P.O. box, the fake statements, it was all real. And Thomas and Rachel were scrambling. My temporary freeze on their accounts had hit hard, and their texts were piling up. Thomas, Mom, this is hurting the kids. Let's talk. Rachel, Maggie, you're blowing this out of proportion. We're family. Family. The word felt like a slap every time they used it. I ignored them, my focus on the meeting with the mysterious friend at Lakeside Coffee this afternoon, and the bank fraud report Howard was filing today. Sue shuffled in, her bathrobe tied loosely, and set a mug of tea in front of me. You look like you're plotting a heist, she said, half joking. I managed a grim smile, more like damage control. They're not going to roll over. Sue, she sat across from me, her eyes fierce. And neither are you. What's the play today? I sipped the tea, the warmth steadying me. Meet the bank. Meet this contact. Keep Thomas and Rachel at arm's length. Howard's handling the legal side. My phone buzzed Thomas again, this time a voicemail. I played it on speaker. Sue leaning in. Mom, we're coming over to Sue's at 10. We need to fix this. The kids are upset, and we can't access our money. Please, let's talk. His voice was strained, a mix of worry and something sharper, like he was trying to control the narrative. Sue snorted. He's got some nerve. You're not meeting them alone. Maggie, I'm not meeting them at all, I said, deleting the voicemail. Howard's warning about the restraining order echoed they'd use the kids to guilt me. I texted Howard. Thomas wants to come to Sue's at 10. I'm not engaging. Advice? He replied instantly. Stay away. I'll file the restraining order this morning. Meet me at the bank at 11. I nodded to myself, the plan solidifying. I wasn't the confused old lady they wanted me to be. I was Margaret Bennett, and I was done playing nice. At 10:30, I was in my car, heading to First National Bank, when my phone rang Lily's school. My heart skipped. Mrs. Bennett, this is Principal Carter. A calm voice said, I'm calling about Lily. She's been acting out, saying you're fighting with her parents. She's in my office, upset. I gripped the steering wheel, my throat tight. Is she okay? The principal hesitated. Physically, yes, but she's confused. She said you're trying to take their house. The words cut deep. Thomas and Rachel were spinning this to the kids, painting me as the villain. I'm dealing with something serious, I said, my voice shaking. Can I speak to her? Lily came on, her voice small. Grandma, why are you mad at Mom and Dad? They said you locked their money. I swallowed hard, picturing her brown eyes, so like Bill's. Lily, sweetheart, I'm not mad. Your parents made some bad choices, and I'm trying to fix it. I love you. Okay. She sniffled. Okay. But Dad's really stressed. I promised to see her soon, hanging up as tears pricked my eyes. They were using my grandchildren as shields, and it was working. At the bank, Howard met me in the lobby, his tweed blazer a quiet reassurance. Caroline Fletcher, head of the fraud department, ushered us into a conference room. She was younger than me, but I remembered her as a bright teller I'd mentored. Margaret, I'm so sorry, she said, her eyes warm. We've reviewed your complaint. The transfers are real, and the statement tampering is internal. We're escalating to our forensic team. I spread my printouts on the table. $200 wasn't in transfers. The P.O. box. Rachel's bank history. Howard added, this is elder financial abuse. Caroline, we need answers. She nodded. Grim. We've traced the fake statements to an external vendor, likely hired by someone with system access. Rachel Bennett's name keeps coming up. My stomach churned. She worked here 15 years ago, I said. She'd know how to manipulate the system. Caroline made a note. We're auditing her old logins. Preliminary findings in 2 days. Full report in a week. Howard pushed. And their accounts, she confirmed, frozen until we resolve this. They'll be notified today. As we left, my phone buzzed a text from an unknown number. Lakeside Coffee. Don't tell anyone. Friend. Howard raised an eyebrow. You sure about this? Margaret. I nodded, though my nerves jangled. I need to know who's on my side. Lakeside Coffee was buzzing with post-Christmas tourists. The lake glinting through the windows. I chose a corner table, my tea steaming as I scanned the door. At 2, though sharp, a woman slipped in, her coat hood up. She sat across from me, lowering it to reveal a familiar face, Emma Cole, Thomas's assistant at his marketing firm. Mrs. Bennett, she whispered, her eyes darting. I'm risking my job. But you need to know what Thomas is doing. My pulse spiked. Go on. She slid a USB drive across the table. He asked me to backdate emails. Make it look like you've been confused for years. They're planning to say you're unfit, to control your money. I gripped the drive, my knuckles white. Why tell me? Emma's voice broke. My mom was scammed by family. I can't let it happen to you. She stood, pulling her hood up. Everything's on there. Be careful. I left the cafe, the USB burning a hole in my pocket. Back at Sue's, I plugged it into my laptop. Howard on speakerphone as I opened files. Fake emails, memos, even a draft petition for guardianship. All time-stamped to look 2 years old. They're building a case to lock me away. I said, my voice hollow. Howard's tone was grim. This is conspiracy. Margaret, we'll use it in court. That night, Thomas called again. I answered, against my better judgment. Mom, stop this, he pleaded. You're tearing us apart. The kids need you. My heart ached, but I saw through him. You tore us apart. Tommy, when you stole from me, he went silent, then hung up. I sat in the dark, the USB drive in my hand, Lily's voice echoing. They thought they could break me. They were wrong. So, friends, the fight's getting real. Ever had to stand up to someone you love? Hit that like button if you're with me, and subscribe to see this through. Drop a comment, where are you watching from? Let's keep the fire burning. The Burlington night was still, the snow outside Sue's bungalow piling up like secrets I couldn't ignore. I sat at her kitchen table, the USB drive from Emma Cole staring back at me. Its contents a ticking bomb. Welcome back, friends, to this tangled web of family lies, where every step forward feels like walking on glass. Let's dive into the moment. An ally's betrayal sharpens my resolve, and the fight gets messier. Grab a blanket, lower the lights, because this one's going to sting. Emma's files had kept me up past midnight, each document a fresh cut, fake emails, backdated to make me look senile, memos claiming I'd forgotten payments, even a draft petition to declare me incompetent, all crafted to strip me of control. Thomas and Rachel weren't just stealing my money, they were planning to erase my autonomy. I'd frozen their accounts, locked down my own, and reported the $200 wasn't theft to the bank. But this This was a new level of cold. I leaned back, the chair creaking, my tea cold. You underestimated me, I whispered to the empty room, picturing Thomas's rushed apologies. Rachel's fake tears. Sue shuffled in, her hair a mess, eyes sharp despite the hour. Maggie, you're still at it. What's on that drive? I turned the laptop toward her, showing the petition. They want to lock me in a memory care home. Sue, sell my house, my life, while I'm still breathing. Her face hardened. That's not just theft. That's evil. She poured herself coffee, sitting across from me. What's the next move? I tapped the USB. This goes to Howard. We're building a case, not just for fraud, but conspiracy. My phone buzzed Thomas. Again. I ignored it, but the text that followed stopped me cold. Mom, Lily's asking why you hate us. Call her. My heart twisted, picturing my granddaughter's face, her quiet defiance at Christmas. Were they coaching her to guilt me? I texted Howard instead. New evidence. Can we meet before the bank tomorrow? He replied. 8. My office. Bring the drive. Morning came too fast. The sky a dull gray. Howard's office was warm, his desk cluttered with my printouts and now Emma's files. He scanned the documents, his silver hair catching the light. Margaret, this is dynamite, he said, adjusting his glasses. They're not just after your money, they're orchestrating a takeover. We'll use this in the competency hearing they're pushing for. I nodded, my jaw tight. They're claiming I'm paranoid. Howard, confused. He smiled, grim. Let them try. You've got more evidence than most prosecutors dream of. My phone rang as we wrapped up Principal Carter again. Mrs. Bennett. It's about Ethan this time, she said, her voice gentle. He's been crying in class, saying you're trying to ruin his family. My chest ached. Ethan's small hug from Christmas flashing in my mind. They're telling him lies, I said, my voice shaking. Can I see him? She hesitated. Not during school hours, but I'll arrange a supervised visit through family services. Tomorrow. Maybe. I thanked her, hanging up as Howard touched my arm. Stay focused. Margaret, they'll use the kids to weaken you. I left his office, the cold air biting my cheeks, and drove to First National Bank for the fraud meeting. Caroline Fletcher met me in the same conference room, joined by Jason Miller, a forensic accountant with a laptop full of charts. Margaret, we've got preliminary findings, Caroline said, her tone grave. The $200,000 transfers were initiated from an IP address at Thomas and Rachel's home. The fake statements, routed through a vendor they hired, paid from an account linked to Rachel. I clenched my fists under the table. She used her bank access. Jason nodded. Old logins, never deactivated. We're digging deeper, but it's fraud. Plain and simple. Howard, who joined us, pushed. What about recovery? Caroline sighed. We're working on it. The frozen accounts hold most of the funds, but some were moved offshore. We've alerted the FBI. My stomach dropped. Offshore. This was bigger than I thought. As we left, Caroline squeezed my hand. You trained me to spot this. Margaret, we'll make it right. Her words were a small comfort, but the weight of Ethan's tears, Lily's accusations, pressed harder, back at Sue's. I was barely through the door when the doorbell rang. Sue peeked out. It's Rachel, alone. My pulse spiked. The restraining order was in place, but she was here, risking it. Let her in, I said, my voice steady. But record it. Sue nodded, pulling out her phone as she opened the door. Rachel stepped inside, her coat misbuttoned, dark circles under her eyes. Maggie, please, she said, her voice trembling. 5 minutes. You're violating a court order, I said, arms crossed. Talk fast. She perched on the sofa, hands twisting. The kids are falling apart. Ethan thinks you hate him. Lily won't eat. This freeze. These accusations, it's destroying us. Her eyes welled up, but I saw the calculation behind them. You stole $200,000. Rachel, I said, my tone icy. You faked my statements. Planned to call me incompetent. Don't play the victim. She flinched, then rallied. We were protecting you. Maggie, after Bill died, you were a mess. Thomas thought I cut her off. Don't you dare use Bill's name. You thought I was an easy mark. A lonely widow you could bleed dry. Her face crumpled, but her voice sharpened. You're not as sharp as you think. You've been forgetting things, mixing up dates. We were helping. Sue snorted, her phone still recording. I stepped closer, my voice low. I trained half this city's bankers. Rachel, I'm not the one who's confused. Get out and don't come back without a court supervisor. She stood, her eyes flashing. This isn't over. Maggie, Thomas has friends, people who'll believe you're losing it. She left, the door slamming, and Sue stopped recording. She's desperate, she said. Good. I called Howard, reporting the violation. He was calm. The police are picking her up. This strengthens our case. But Rachel's words lingered, friends, people who'd believe I was slipping. I thought of Emma's files, the fake emails. They were building a narrative, and I needed to counter it. That afternoon, I met Emma again at Lakeside Coffee, her hood up, her voice low. They're escalating, she whispered. Sliding another USB. Thomas is talking to a lawyer about emergency loans, saying you're paranoid. There's more on their emails to a doctor. Fake medical reports. I gripped the drive, my resolve hardening. Thank you. Emma, you're risking a lot. She nodded, her eyes haunted. Just stop them. Back at Sue's, I reviewed the new files emails to a Dr. Ellis, claiming I'd had episodes. Never his patient. It was chilling, but it was ammunition. I wasn't just fighting for my money now. I was fighting for my name, my freedom, and my grandchildren's trust. So, friends, the stakes are climbing. Ever had someone try to rewrite your truth? Hit that like button if you're with me. And subscribe to see this fight through. Drop a comment, where are you watching from? Let's keep this fire alive. The Burlington morning was bitter, the kind of cold that makes your breath catch and your resolve harden. I sat in Howard's office. The USB drives from Emma Cole spread across his desk like evidence in a crime novel. Welcome back, friends, to this raw, unyielding fight against family betrayal, where every revelation cuts deeper than the last. Let's step into the moment I uncovered a truth so dark it shook my world, forcing me to question everything, even my husband's death. Grab a hot tea, dim the lights, and brace yourself for a twist that'll leave you reeling. Howard's office smelled of old books and coffee, a small comfort against the storm brewing inside me. Rachel's violation of the restraining order yesterday had landed her in hot water picked up by police, released with a warning, but it tightened our case. Emma's second USB, with its fake medical reports and Thomas's lawyer talks, was a gold mine. But my gut told me there was more. I'd spent the night digging through my bank records, chasing a hunch from that $10 cousin transfer dated just before Bill's death. It wasn't just money. It was a clue to something uglier. Margaret, you're holding up better than most, Howard said, scanning Emma's files. These fake reports, Dr. Ellis, who you've never met, are damning. They're building a narrative to discredit you. I nodded, my jaw tight. They're not just after my money. Howard, they want my life. He leaned back, his silver hair catching the light. We'll hit them hard at the competency hearing. But this new transfer you mentioned before Bill's death, what's that about? I spread my printouts, pointing to the $10. This was moved from my joint account with Bill 2 weeks before his heart attack. It's not in my paper statements, but it's in the bank system. And look, I flipped to another page. Smaller transfers. $2 and $3,000, going back 6 months before he died, totaling $25,000, all to an account I didn't recognize. Howard's eyes narrowed. You think this started while Bill was alive? My voice trembled, but I pressed on. I think it's worse. Bill noticed something. He left me a letter in our safe, dated a month before he died. I slid a copy across the desk, my hands shaking. Howard read aloud, his voice steady. My dearest Maggie, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and something's wrong with our finances. Thomas has been asking odd questions, retirement funds, insurance. I hope I'm wrong, but protect yourself. People only treat you the way you allow them to. Always. Bill. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. Howard set the letter down, his face grim. Margaret, this suggests they were targeting you both, possibly planning around Bill's death. The words hung between us, too terrible to voice fully. Bill's heart attack had been sudden, found by Thomas in his workshop. I'd never questioned it. Grief had blinded me. Now, doubt gnawed like a splinter. I need to know, I said, my voice low. Was it just money or more? Howard nodded, making notes. We'll expand the fraud investigation to include these earlier transfers. I'll request Bill's medical records, too. Discreetly, my stomach churned, but I agreed. If Thomas had played a role in Bill's death, I had to face it. My phone buzzed Principal Carter again. Mrs. Bennett, I've arranged a supervised visit with Lily and Ethan tomorrow. 3 p.m. at Family Services, she said. They're struggling. Ethan keeps asking for you. My heart ached, picturing his small face, Lily's quiet anger. Thank you, I said, my voice thick. I'll be there. Hanging up, I met Howard's gaze. They're using the kids to break me. Aren't they? They'll try, he said gently. But you're stronger than that. Focus on the bank meeting this afternoon. Caroline's got updates. I nodded, gathering my papers, Bill's letter burning in my pocket. The drive to First National was a blur. The snow falling in thick flakes. Caroline Fletcher and Jason Miller waited in the conference room, their faces tense. Margaret, we've traced that pre-death transfer, Caroline said, sliding a report across the table. The $10 went to an offshore account, same as some later ones. Total stolen. Including these early transfers is now $225,000. I gripped the report, my knuckles white, and the offshore account. Jason tapped his laptop, registered to a shell company, but the IP address for the setup matches Thomas and Rachel's home. We're working with the FBI to crack it. My breath caught. There's more, Caroline added, her voice soft. We found inquiries into Bill's life insurance policy a month before his death. Someone checked the payout, $500, with you as beneficiary. My vision blurred, Bill's letter echoing, protect yourself. Maggie, Thomas found him, I whispered. My voice barely audible, said he was already gone. Caroline touched my hand. We're escalating to federal investigators. This isn't just fraud anymore. Howard, who joined us, nodded. Margaret, we'll push for a full audit of Bill's death. It's a long shot, but we can't ignore it. As we left, my phone rang an unknown number. I answered. Cautious. Mrs. Bennett, this is Agent Laura Chen. FBI, a crisp voice said. We're taking over your case. Can we meet tomorrow? After your visit with the kids. I agreed. My mind spinning. The bank, the FBI, Bill's letter. It was all converging, and I was at the center. Holding the threads, back at Sue's. I found a note from her. She'd gone to work. Left me soup. I heated it, the steam rising as I stared at my phone. A new text from Rachel. Maggie, you're destroying us. The kids need their parents. Stop this. I deleted it. But Ethan's face, Lily's voice, haunted me. I called Sue, needing her grounding. They're escalating, I said when she answered. And I think it started before Bill died. She gasped. Maggie, that's horrific. What do you need? I exhaled, my voice steady. I need to see the kids, and I need to keep fighting. She was quiet. Then fierce, you've got this, and I've got your back. Hanging up. I opened my laptop, reviewing Emma's files again. A new email caught my eye. Buried in the data, Thomas to Rachel, 3 weeks before Bill's death. If it happens, the insurance will cover everything. Just keep her calm. My blood ran cold. If it happens, was Bill's death planned? I closed the laptop, my hands trembling. Tomorrow, I'd see my grandchildren, hold them, remind them I was still here. But tonight, I sat in the dark, Bill's letter in my hand, his words my anchor. Protect yourself. I would, for him, for me, for the truth. So, friends, the shadows are deepening. Ever faced a truth too dark to believe? Hit that like button if you're with me. And subscribe to see this through. Drop a comment, where are you watching from? Let's hold this ground together. The Burlington courthouse loomed under a gray sky, its granite steps slick with melting snow. I gripped Howard's arm, my heart pounding as we climbed, the weight of Emma's evidence and Bill's letter heavy in my bag. Welcome back, friends, to this raw, electric moment where I faced my family in a courtroom. No longer the sidelined widow, but a woman ready to reclaim her truth. Let's step into the clash that changes everything, where words cut deeper than knives. Grab a cozy throw, dim the lights, and let's dive into the fire. Howard's office prep yesterday had been intense, his desk buried under printouts, USB drives, and my scribbled notes, Emma's files, fake emails, doctored medical reports, and that chilling pre-death email about Bill's insurance were our ammunition. The bank's findings, now with FBI oversight, confirmed $225 stolen, some tied to an offshore account linked to Thomas and Rachel. Bill's letter, warning of Thomas's odd questions, was the final piece, hinting at a scheme that might have started before his heart attack. Today was their competency hearing, their attempt to paint me as a confused old woman. They'd regret it. Inside courtroom seat, the air was thick with tension. Thomas and Rachel sat with their lawyer, a slick man in a tailored suit, his smirk oozing confidence. Thomas glanced at me, his eyes a mix of guilt and defiance, while Rachel kept her gaze forward, her hands clasped tight. In the back, Lily and Ethan sat with the social worker. Ethan's small face lighting up when he saw me. Lily whispered to him, and he stayed put, but his wave broke my heart. I nodded back, my resolve hardening. This wasn't just for me, it was for them. Judge Caroline Russell entered, her presence commanding at 61, her reputation for cutting through nonsense well known in Burlington. We rose, and she settled at the bench, reviewing papers. We're here for Bennett versus Bennett, a petition for emergency competency evaluation, she said, her voice crisp. But I've received filings suggesting we address other matters first. Thomas's lawyer stood, all polish. Your Honor, this is a simple case. Mrs. Bennett's recent actions freezing family accounts, making wild accusations show cognitive decline. Howard rose, his tweed blazer a quiet contrast. Your Honor, nothing about this is simple. We have evidence of systematic financial fraud and elder abuse orchestrated by the petitioners. The lawyer paled, but Judge Russell raised a hand. Counselor, I've read Mrs. Bennett's submissions. Allegations of $225,000 in theft aren't wild. Let's hear it. Thomas leaned to his lawyer, whispering urgently, but Rachel's face stayed stone cold. Howard laid it out, his voice steady but fierce. Margaret Bennett, a retired senior account manager at First National Bank, discovered unauthorized transfers from her accounts to her son and daughter-in-laws, totaling $225,000 over 5 years. Falsified statements hid the theft, and we have proof of a conspiracy to declare her incompetent. He slid Emma's USB and my printouts to the clerk. These include backdated emails, fake medical reports, and a draft guardianship petition, all designed to discredit Mrs. Bennett. Caroline Fletcher took the stand next, her bank ID gleaming. The transfers originated from the Bennett's home IP address, she said, presenting charts. Rachel Bennett, a former employee, used old logins to reroute statements to an Essex Junction P.O. box. Some funds went offshore. Gasps rippled through the room. Thomas's lawyer objected. This is speculative. But Judge Russell shut him down. Overruled. Continue. Agent Laura Chen from the FBI followed. Her tone clipped. We're investigating federal crimes, wire fraud, identity theft, and potential links to inquiries about William Bennett's life insurance before his death. My breath caught. Bill's letter burning in my memory. Protect yourself. Maggie. Rachel shifted, her composure cracking, while Thomas stared at the floor. Their lawyer's smirk was gone. I took the stand, my burgundy sweater feeling like armor. Mrs. Bennett, Howard asked, did you authorize these transfers? I looked at Thomas, then Rachel, my voice clear. Never. I trusted my family, but they betrayed me, stealing $225 siren and planning to call me unfit to control my life. Thomas shook his head, mouthing, Mom, no, but I pressed on. I found a letter from my late husband, warning me about Thomas's questions before his death. I believe this started earlier than we thought. The lawyer cross-examined, his tone patronizing. Mrs. Bennett, isn't it possible you're mistaken? Grief can cloud memory. I met his gaze, unflinching. I spent 40 years catching fraud at First National. My memory's fine, and the bank's records back me up. A murmur ran through the courtroom, and Judge Russell's lips twitched, almost a smile. Thomas's lawyer stood, flustered. Your Honor, in light of this evidence, my clients wish to withdraw the petition. They'll cooperate with the investigation and offer restitution. Howard scoffed. Restitution for stealing from a widow. This is fraud. Conspiracy and abuse. Judge Russell nodded, her pen moving swiftly. The petition is dismissed. I'm issuing orders. Mrs. Bennett's assets are protected. The restraining order against Thomas and Rachel Bennett is extended for 90 days, and custody of the minor children is temporarily assigned to Family Services, pending evaluation. Ethan's cry from the back pierced me. Grandma, Lily shushed him, her eyes wet. I turned, my heart breaking, but Judge Russell softened. Mrs. Bennett, I'll expedite a custody review for you, but the children's welfare comes first. I nodded, tears pricking. Thank you, Your Honor. As the gavel fell, Thomas stood, his voice desperate. Mom, please. We didn't mean. Rachel pulled him down, hissing. Not now. Their lawyer hustled them out, but Thomas's eyes lingered on me, a flicker of the boy I'd raised. Outside, Howard shook my hand, his grip firm. You did it. Margaret, this is a win. I watched Thomas and Rachel climb into a car, FBI agents nearby, not arresting them yet. It doesn't feel like winning, I said, my voice hollow. The supervised visit with Lily and Ethan was set for 3 p.m. at Family Services, a sterile room with faded toys. Ethan ran to me, his hug fierce. Grandma, why's everyone fighting? Lily hung back, her arms crossed. Dad says you're making us poor. I knelt, my voice gentle. Sweetheart, your parents took money that wasn't theirs. I'm fixing it. For you and Ethan. Lily's eyes softened, but she didn't reply. The social worker watched, noting everything. Back at Sue's, I sank into her couch, exhaustion hitting like a wave. Sue handed me tea, her voice soft. You were a lion in there, Maggie. I managed a smile. A tired lion. They're still my family. Sue, even after this, she squeezed my hand. You're protecting them, too, by stopping this. My phone buzzed, Agent Chen. We've traced the offshore account. Meeting tomorrow. The fight wasn't over, but for the first time, I felt my power, not just my pain. So, friends, the courtroom's behind us, but the war's not won. Ever fought for your truth in front of those you love? Hit that like button if you're with me, and subscribe to see this through. Drop a comment, where are you watching from? Let's keep this fire burning. The Burlington dusk settled soft and heavy, the snow outside Sue's bungalow glowing faintly under streetlights. I sat on her couch, Ethan's small hug from the family services visit still lingering, Lily's guarded eyes haunting me. Welcome back, friends, to this bruised and tender chapter of my fight, where the courtroom victory tastes bittersweet and the family I love splinters further. Let's wade into the aftermath, where guilt and defiance collide. Grab a warm mug, dim the lights, and let's unpack the cost of truth. The competency hearing yesterday had been a triumph. Thomas and Rachel's petition dismissed, their fraud exposed, my assets protected. But triumph didn't feel like joy. Ethan's cry, Lily's accusation, Dad says you're making us poor, cut deeper than Rachel's lies. I'd won the battle, but my grandchildren were caught in the crossfire, and Thomas's desperate mom, please. As he left the courtroom echoed in my head. Was he sorry, or just sorry he got caught? I didn't know anymore. Sue handed me a glass of wine, her eyes searching. Maggie, you're quiet. Talk to me. I swirled the glass, the red catching the light. I humiliated them. Sue, in front of a judge, the FBI, everyone, and the kids, they think I'm the bad guy. She sat beside me, fierce. You didn't do this. They did, stealing $225, son, plotting to lock you away. You're saving yourself and them from worse. I nodded, but the weight of it fracturing my family pressed hard. My phone buzzed Agent Chen, confirming our meeting tomorrow to discuss the offshore account. Another message followed. From Thomas. Mom, I'm sorry. Can we talk? Just me. I stared at it, my thumb hovering. Sue raised an eyebrow. You're not falling for that, are you? I sighed, setting the phone down. No, but he's still my son. She softened, touching my arm. I know. That's why this hurts. I thought back to the visit with Lily and Ethan. The family services room had felt like a cage. The social worker's pen scratching as I tried to explain without breaking them. Ethan clung to me, his voice small. Grandma, are Mom and Dad in trouble? I'd smoothed his hair, my heart aching. They made mistakes. Sweetheart, I'm trying to make things right. Lily, arms crossed, had scoffed. Dad says you're lying, that you're confused. I'd met her gaze, steady. Lily, I love you. I'm not lying. Someday, you'll see. She'd looked away, but her shoulders slumped, a crack in her defiance. That night, I opened my laptop, reviewing Emma's files again, needing to ground myself in evidence. The fake medical reports, the backdated emails, the email about Bill's insurance. If it happens, the insurance will cover everything. Still chilled me. I pulled out Bill's letter, its familiar script a lifeline. Protect yourself. Maggie, I traced his words, tears pricking. I'm trying. Bill, I whispered, but at what cost? The doorbell rang, startling me. Sue checked the peephole, her voice low. It's Thomas, alone. My pulse spiked. The restraining order was still active. Don't open it, I said, grabbing my phone to call Howard. Thomas knocked, his voice muffled. Mom, please, I just want to talk. I'm sorry. Sue recorded through the door, her phone steady. I texted Howard. Thomas is here. Violating the order, he replied. Call the police. I'm on my way. I dialed 911, my voice calm but firm. This is Margaret Bennett. My son is at my friend's house, violating a restraining order. The dispatcher promised a patrol car within 10 minutes. Thomas knocked again. Mom, I know I messed up. Let me explain. His voice broke, and for a moment, I saw the boy who'd cried when his dog died. But I remembered the $225 and the fake statements, the plan to institutionalize me. Go away. Thomas, I called, my tone icy. You've done enough. He left before the police arrived, their lights flashing in the snowy street. Officer Patel, a young woman with sharp eyes, took my statement. We'll issue a warning, she said. If he violates again, he'll be arrested. I nodded, exhaustion creeping in. Sue locked the door, her voice soft. You did the right thing. Maggie. I sank onto the couch, the wine untouched. Then why does it feel so wrong? The next morning, I met Agent Chen at a quiet diner near the lake, her FBI badge discreet in her pocket. Mrs. Bennett, we've cracked the offshore account, she said, sliding a report across the table. It's tied to a shell company Rachel set up. Most of the $225,000 is recoverable, but we found something else. My stomach tightened. What? She leaned forward, her voice low. Emails between Rachel and a private investigator, hired to monitor your health before Bill's death. They were looking for signs of dementia, anything to justify a guardianship later. My breath caught. Bill's letter flashing in my mind. They were planning even then. Chen nodded. Grim. We're investigating possible links to your husband's death, but it's circumstantial so far. We need more. I gripped the report, my resolve steeling. You'll have it, whatever it takes. Back at Sue's, I got a call from Family Services. Temporary custody of Lily and Ethan was under review, with a hearing next week. The social worker added, Lily asked to call you, but Rachel blocked her phone. My heart sank, but I pushed forward, calling Howard to prep for the custody fight. He was optimistic. With the fraud exposed, you've got a strong case. Margaret, stay focused. That afternoon, I found a letter slipped under Sue's door, in Thomas's handwriting. Mom, I was wrong. I let Rachel push me, but I never meant to hurt you. Please, let's fix this. I read it twice, tears falling. Was he sincere, or was this another ploy? I handed it to Sue, my voice shaky. What do I do with this? She read it, her face softening. He's scared, Maggie, but trust your gut. He's got to face the consequences. I tucked the letter away, unresolved, and opened my laptop, pulling up the bank's latest report. A new transfer caught my eye. $5. Zanta moved just days before the hearing to an account I didn't know. I forwarded it to Chen, my fingers steady. Thomas's apology might have tugged at my heart, but his actions still lied. Rachel's defiance, Lily's anger, Ethan's tears, they were all part of this storm. And I was the eye, calm but unyielding. As night fell, I sat by Sue's window, watching the snow. I'd exposed their scheme, protected my future. But the family I'd built with Bill was in tatters. Guilt gnawed, but so did pride. I'd fought back, and I was still standing. The fight wasn't over, but for now, I'd earned a moment to breathe. So, friends, the dust is settling, but the scars remain. Ever had to choose between love and justice? Hit that like button if you're with me, and subscribe to see this through. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Let's hold this space together. The Burlington dawn crept in, soft and muted. The snow outside Sue's bungalow, now a patchwork of slush and ice. I sat at her kitchen table. Ethan's crayon drawing from yesterday's visit. A wobbly heart with Grandma scrawled inside, propped against my coffee mug. Welcome back, friends, to this tender, bruised chapter of my fight, where victory feels heavy and rebuilding begins amid the ruins. Let's walk through the moment. I start stitching my family back together, one fragile thread at a time. Grab a cozy blanket, dim the lights, and let's navigate this bittersweet turn. The courtroom win last week had shifted everything. Thomas and Rachel's fraud exposed, their competency petition crushed, my assets secured. Agent Chen's revelation about the offshore account and Rachel's pre-death surveillance of me had deepened the betrayal, and Thomas's letter, slipped under Sue's door, still sat unanswered in my bag. I was wrong. He'd written, but the $225,000 theft, the fake statements, and that chilling email about Bill's insurance. If it happens, the insurance will cover everything, made his words feel hollow. Yet, the custody hearing for Lily and Ethan loomed, and their faces Ethan's hug. Lily's guarded hope drove me forward. Sue shuffled in, her slippers scuffing the floor. You're up early. Maggie, thinking about the kids. I nodded, tracing the heart on Ethan's drawing. Family Services is reviewing custody today. I want them with me. Sue. But I'm 67. Can I do this? She poured coffee, her eyes fierce. You've raised one kid alone, fought off thieves, and stared down a courtroom. You've got this. Her faith steadied me, but doubt lingered. Could I rebuild a home for Lily and Ethan while their parents faced federal charges? My phone buzzed Howard, confirming the hearing at 10 a.m. Faye, it's looking good. Margaret, he said, his voice warm. The judge knows the kids need stability, and your record's spotless. I exhaled, gripping Ethan's drawing, Thanks. Howard, any word on Thomas and Rachel? He paused. They're cooperating with the FBI, hoping for leniency. Rachel's pushing Thomas to take the fall, but he's resisting. It's messy. Messy. The word fit our fractured family perfectly. The courthouse was quieter than last week. The post-Christmas rush gone. Judge Russell presided again, her stern face softening when she saw me. Howard presented my case, a stable home, financial security, and my commitment to Lily and Ethan's well-being. The social worker testified, her voice measured. Lily and Ethan are struggling with their parents' absence, but they trust Mrs. Bennett. Ethan talks about her constantly, and Lily's starting to open up. My heart swelled, picturing Lily's hesitant smile yesterday when I'd promised to bake her favorite cookies. Thomas and Rachel's lawyer, less smug now, argued for supervised parental visits, citing their regret and family unity. Judge Russell cut him off. Regret doesn't erase $225,000 in fraud or a conspiracy to institutionalize Mrs. Bennett. The children's safety comes first. She ruled in my favor, temporary custody granted, with supervised visits for Thomas and Rachel pending their case. I exhaled, tears pricking, as Howard squeezed my hand. You're their home now, Margaret. Leaving the courthouse, I spotted Thomas outside, alone, his coat dusted with snow. He approached, hands raised, respecting the restraining order's distance. Mom, I heard about custody. Thank you for taking care of them. His voice broke, and for a moment, I saw my boy, not the thief. They deserve better than this. Thomas, I said, my tone steady but soft. He nodded, eyes wet. I know, I'm trying to make it right. He turned away, and I let him go, my heart torn between love and distrust. At Sue's, I prepped for the kids' arrival, transforming her guest room with their favorite blankets and books. Family services brought them that afternoon. Ethan barreling into my arms. Grandma, are we living with you now? I hugged him tight, his warmth grounding me. For now, sweetheart. We're gonna be okay. Lily hung back, her backpack slung over one shoulder. Is Dad in jail? She asked, her voice sharp. I knelt, meeting her gaze. Not yet. Lily, he and your mom made big mistakes, but I'm here for you. Always. She nodded, a flicker of trust in her eyes, and followed Ethan inside. That night, I tucked them into bed, Ethan clutching a stuffed bear, Lily reading by flashlight. Grandma, Ethan mumbled, half asleep. Don't fight with Mom and Dad anymore. Okay. I kissed his forehead, my throat tight. I'm fighting for you, buddy. Lily looked up, her book closing. I'm sorry I said you were lying. Her voice was small, and I hugged her, tears falling. It's okay. Sweetheart, we're figuring this out together. After they slept, I met Agent Chen at her office, the snow falling outside. She spread new documents across her desk. We've recovered $180,000 from the offshore account, she said. But we found something else. Rachel paid a chemist for a report on cardiac medications. 2 months before Bill's death. My breath caught. Bill's letter flashing. Protect yourself. Are you saying I couldn't finish? Chen's eyes were grave. It's not proof, but we're digging. If there's a link to his heart attack, we'll find it. I left, the cold biting my cheeks, and drove to Sue's, my mind reeling. Had Rachel poisoned Bill, or was it just another layer of their scheme? I couldn't face it yet, not with the kids upstairs. At home, Sue had dinner ready, her smile warm. How are the troops? I managed to laugh. Exhausted. Settling in, but it's a lot. She hugged me. Fierce. You're not alone. Maggie. We've got this. Later, I sat by the kids' room, listening to their soft breathing. My phone buzzed a text from an unknown number. Check your attic. Bill left something for you. A friend. My pulse spiked. Another ally. Or a trap. I climbed to Sue's attic, finding a box marked with Bill's handwriting. For Maggie, inside was a journal, his neat script detailing months of unease. Thomas's questions, Rachel's odd visits, small withdrawals he couldn't trace. I'm scared for you. Mags, he'd written, if I'm gone, fight. Tears fell as I closed it, his love my anchor. I tucked the journal away, my resolve hardening. The kids, the money, Bill's truth, I was fighting for it all. But the cost was steep, and the road ahead uncertain. For now, I had Lily and Ethan, and that was enough to keep going. So, friends, we're rebuilding, but the cracks remain. Ever had to start over with the ones you love? Hit that like button if you're with me. and subscribe to see this through. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Let's hold this fragile hope together. The Burlington spring crept in, melting the snow into muddy patches outside Sue's bungalow, where Lily's sneakers and Ethan's toy trucks now littered the porch. I sat in the living room, a half-knit scarf for Lily in my lap, the quiet hum of the kids' laughter from the backyard grounding me. Welcome back, friends, to this fragile, hopeful chapter of my journey, where the fight's dust settles and I find a shaky peace amid the wreckage. Let's walk through the moment I carve out a new normal. While Thomas and Rachel face their reckoning, grab a soft blanket, dim the lights, and let's savor this bittersweet calm. 3 months had passed since the courtroom showdown, where I dismantled Thomas and Rachel's lies, exposing their $225 in theft and conspiracy to declare me incompetent. The kids had been with me since January, their temporary custody granted after the judge saw the depth of their parents' betrayal. Ethan's crayon drawings covered the fridge, and Lily's guitar strums filled the evenings. But their questions, when can we see Mom and Dad, still stung. Thomas's letter, his I'm sorry, sat unanswered. While Rachel's defiance in court lingered like a bad taste, Agent Chen's investigation into Bill's death. Those chilling emails about cardiac meds hovered, unresolved, a shadow I couldn't shake. Sue flopped onto the couch, kicking off her boots. Maggie, you're knitting like it's a race. How are the kids holding up? I set the scarf down, my fingers sore. Better, but they miss their parents. Ethan asked if they're in jail yet. Sue winced, handing me tea. And you're carrying a lot. I sipped, the warmth easing my tension. I'm managing. Sue. But 67's a tough age to start parenting again. She grinned. Fierce, you're not just parenting, you're rebuilding a family. My phone buzzed Howard with an update. Margaret, good news, he said, his voice steady. The bank recovered $200,000 wired to your new account. The FBI's closing in on the rest. I exhaled, relief mixing with exhaustion. And Thomas and Rachel. He paused. They've been charged wire fraud, identity theft, elder abuse. Rachel's fighting it, but Thomas is pleading guilty, hoping for a deal. Sentencing's next month. I nodded, though he couldn't see. Thanks, Howard. Any word on Bill's case? His tone softened. The chemist's report was inconclusive, but the FBI's still digging. I'll keep you posted. Hanging up, I stared at Ethan's drawing on the fridge, a family with stick figure me, him, and Lily. No parents. The charges were justice, but they didn't heal the hole Thomas had left. I'd raised him alone after Bill's heart attack, poured everything into him college, his house, my love. Now, he was a stranger facing prison, and I was raising his kids. Lily's voice broke my thoughts, calling from the backyard. Grandma, Ethan's stuck in the tree. I laughed, despite myself, and headed out, the spring air cool on my cheeks. Ethan dangled from a low branch, giggling as I lifted him down. You're a monkey, kid, I teased, ruffling his hair. Lily smirked, her guitar slung over her shoulder. He's gonna break something one day. I hugged them both, their warmth, my anchor. Let's make cookies tonight, I said, steering them inside. Lily's eyes lit up, a rare spark. Chocolate chip, I nodded, savoring her smile. That afternoon, family services visited, checking the kids' adjustment. The social worker, Miss Harper, watched Ethan color while Lily strummed softly. They're thriving. Mrs. Bennett, she said, her pen pausing. Lily's grades are up, and Ethan's nightmares are less frequent. You're doing wonders. I smiled, though my chest ached. They're good kids, but they miss their parents. She nodded, her voice gentle. We're arranging a supervised visit next week. Thomas requested it, and the judge approved. Given his cooperation, the news hit like a wave, Thomas. Face to face, after everything. Will Rachel be there? I asked, my tone sharp. Miss Harper shook her head. Just Thomas. Rachel's restricted, pending her trial. I nodded, unsure how to feel. Lily overheard, her fingers stilling on the guitar. Dad's coming. Her voice was cautious, hopeful. I touched her shoulder. Yeah, sweetheart. We'll see him together. She nodded, but her eyes stayed distant, caught between love and hurt. That night, after the kids were asleep, I pulled out Bill's journal from the attic box, its pages worn from my rereading. His final entry, dated a week before his death, chilled me. Thomas asked about my meds today, said Rachel's worried about my heart. Something's off. Mags, trust your gut. I closed it, tears falling. The FBI's lack of proof didn't erase my suspicion. Rachel's chemist report, the insurance inquiries, Thomas's questions. Had they hastened Bill's death, or just planned for it. The not knowing was worse than the truth. Sue found me, her voice soft. Maggie, you're torturing yourself. I wiped my eyes, the journal heavy in my lap. I need answers. Sue, for Bill. She sat beside me, her hand on mine. You're honoring him by protecting the kids, by fighting. That's enough for now. I nodded, her words a small bomb. My phone buzzed, a text from Agent Chen. Found a new lead on the chemist. Meet tomorrow. 10 of G. My pulse spiked, hope and dread mixing. The next day, Chen met me at a quiet park, the lake shimmering in the distance. Mrs. Bennett, the chemist, admitted Rachel asked for a drug interaction analysis, meds matching bills, she said, her voice low. No direct evidence of tampering, but it's suspicious. We're pushing for a tox screen retest. I gripped the bench, my knuckles white. If they hurt him. Chen touched my arm. We'll find out. You've given us a lot to work with. Back at Sue's, I prepped for the kids' school. Lily's guitar case by the door. Ethan's backpack stuffed with snacks. Life was moving forward, but the past clung tight. Thomas's visit loomed, and I braced for it, knowing it'd test my strength. I looked at Bill's photo on the mantle, his smile steady. I'm still fighting, I whispered, my voice firm. The kids, my home, my truth, they were mine, and I'd guard them fiercely. As evening fell, Lily practiced a new song. Ethan sprawled with crayons. I watched them, my heart full yet heavy. Peace was fragile, built on justice's steep price. Thomas and Rachel would face their consequences, but I'd already won what mattered: my grandchildren's trust, my own power. The fight wasn't over, but for now, I was home. So, friends, we're finding our footing, but the shadows linger, ever rebuilt after a storm. Hit that like button if you're with me, and subscribe to see this through. Drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Let's hold this quiet strength together. The Burlington spring had fully bloomed, the lake sparkling beyond Sue's bungalow, where Lily's guitar strums and Ethan's laughter filled the air like a fragile melody. I sat on the porch, a cup of tea cooling in my hands, Bill's journal resting on my lap, its pages worn from months of reading. Welcome back, friends, to the final, tender chapter of this long fight, where I reflect on what I've won and what I've lost, standing on the edge of justice and heartbreak. Let's close the story together, with all its messy truths. Grab a soft blanket, dim the lights, and let's linger in this bittersweet end. The past 4 months had reshaped my world. The courtroom victory in January had stopped Thomas and Rachel's scheme. 225,000 stolen. Fake statements. A plan to lock me away as incompetent. The FBI had recovered 200,000, and Thomas's guilty plea last month had sealed his fate. 2 years in prison. Restitution ordered. Rachel, still fighting her charges, faced a tougher sentence: wire fraud, elder abuse, and now questions about Bill's death. Agent Chen's latest lead, a chemist's report on cardiac meds, hadn't proven murder, but the tox screen retest was pending, a shadow I carried daily. Lily and Ethan, now permanently in my custody, were my light, but their parents' absence left scars. Sue joined me on the porch, her coffee steaming. Maggie, you're quiet again. Thinking about the kids, I smiled. Faint, always. And Thomas's visit yesterday, the supervised meeting at Family Services, had been raw. Thomas, thinner, his eyes hollow, had hugged Lily and Ethan, tears falling. I'm so sorry, he'd said, looking at me. I let Rachel lead, but I should have stopped it. Lily had clung to him, Ethan confused, and I'd stayed silent, my heart torn between love and betrayal. He's trying. Sue, I said now, but it's too late to fix us. She nodded, her voice soft. You gave him everything. Maggie. He broke that trust. I sipped my tea, the lake glinting in the distance. I keep wondering where I went wrong. Was I too soft after Bill died? Did I let him think I was disposable? Sue shook her head. Fierce. Don't do that. You raised him right. He chose this path. Inside, Lily practiced a new song, her fingers steady on the guitar, while Ethan built a fort from pillows. Their laughter was a balm, but it didn't erase the questions. Bill's journal, found in the attic, had been my guide. Protect yourself. Maggie, his warnings about Thomas's odd questions, the 25 bullets stolen before his heart attack, haunted me. The FBI's tox screen results were due next week, and I braced for answers I wasn't sure I wanted. Had Rachel tampered with his meds, or was it just greed? Either way, Bill's absence felt sharper now. His love, my only certainty. My phone buzzed Agent Chen. Mrs. Bennett. The talk screen's inconclusive, she said, her voice careful. No clear evidence of tampering, but we're closing the case unless new leads emerge. I exhaled, relief and frustration mixing. So we'll never know. She paused. Not for sure, but you've got justice for the fraud, and the kids are safe. That's what matters. I thanked her, hanging up as Lily called, Grandma, come see my song. I stepped inside, Ethan tugging my hand to his fort. It's a castle, Grandma. He beamed. Lily strummed, her voice soft but clear, singing about home and starting over. I clapped, tears pricking. That's beautiful. Sweetheart. She smiled, rare and bright. It's for you. My heart swelled, the weight of the fight easing. Just a little. Later, I sat with Howard at his office, finalizing custody papers. You've done the impossible, Margaret, he said, his glasses glinting. You took on your family, the bank, the system, and won. I shook my head. Bill's journal in my bag. Won what? Howard. Money back. Sure. The kids. Yes. But my son's in prison, and I'll never trust like I did. He leaned forward. Kind. You won your power. Your voice. That's no small thing. Back home, I cooked dinner. Lily's favorite pasta. Ethan's chocolate chip cookies for dessert. We ate on the porch, the spring air warm, their chatter filling the silence. Grandma, Ethan said, sauce on his chin. Are you happy now? I paused, his question cutting deep. I'm happy you're here. Buddy, I said, ruffling his hair. Lily watched me, her eyes older than her years. Dad said he's sorry. Do you believe him? I met her gaze. Honest, I want to. Lily, but trust takes time. That night, I tucked them in, Ethan clutching his bear, Lily reading by flashlight. I sat by Bill's photo on the mantel, his smile steady. I protected us, I whispered, but I lost so much. The truth was, justice wasn't a clean win. Thomas's betrayal, Rachel's schemes, the shadow over Bill's death, they'd left permanent marks. Yet, Lily's song, Ethan's fort, my own strength, they were victories. 2, I'd fought for my place, not just at the table, but in my life, and I'd claimed it. As the stars emerged over Lake Champlain, I opened Bill's journal one last time, his final words clear, you deserve better. Always. I closed it, my tears falling but my heart steady. I'd survived, rebuilt, and found a new kind of family with Lily and Ethan. The cost was steep, trust shattered, a son lost, but I was no longer invisible. I was Margaret Bennett, survivor, grandmother, fighter, and that was enough. So, friends, here's where we end. Not with a bow, but with truth. Ever paid a price for standing tall? Hit that like button if you've walked this road. And subscribe to share these stories. Drop a comment, where are you watching from? Let's keep our voices loud, together, because every senior, every fighter deserves to be heard